BHP opened the Newcastle Steelworks in 1915 to make steel with iron ore mined in South Australia and coal taken from the rich seams of the Hunter Valley. The company's choice of Newcastle for the steelworks was to forever change its city and its people. For almost a century, it carried the scars and banners of the City of Steel: pollution, smoke, shift work, jobs, hard work, and engineering excellence. At its height in the late 60s and early 70s, the steelworks employed nearly 12,000 people and produced close to 2.25 million tonnes of steel a year. Spin-off industries and the need to provide goods and services to BHP created thousands more jobs in and around the city. No family was untouched by the steelworks. If one of your relations didn't work there, one of your friends did. It was hard, it was dirty, but you could always get a job. Just go down to the BHP, they said. They'll give you a job. And they did. Everyone thought the work would last forever. But in the 1980s, BHP cut its Newcastle workforce to 6,000, while continuing to maintain productivity at 1.5 million tonnes of steel a year. A series of business improvement plans followed to try to make the steelworks more viable by reducing costs and increasing output. But in April 1997, BHP made its not unexpected announcement that the main part of the business, the making of iron and steel, would close at the end of 1999. Job losses would be around 2,500. BHP said the steelworks was too old and small to be efficient in world terms. The company appeared to be repositioning itself as a global miner. And for those who held this vision, the Newcastle Steelworks seemed to be in the way. Generations of families had worked at the BHP, as it was known: grandfather, father, son. Many had worked nowhere else, which is why, when the decision to close was made, it hurt. It hurt hard. It hurt very hard indeed. Substantial company effort was put into retraining, counselling, assistance, and generous severance pay to employees. But more was needed. 84 years of iron and steel making in Newcastle had to be laid to rest with all the dignity, honour, and sense of history and occasion that could be mustered. A few key executives and supervisors seized on the idea of an event that would involve workers, their families, and the wider community. The company supported the plan, recognising it as a powerful weapon in deflecting criticism of the closure.
It was in fact in February of 1998 that the name Ribbons of Steel was created.
I have to say that there was a lot of tension in the early days because a lot of the steel workers weren't that happy about an art type festival, but eventually I think we chose the best elements of what was proposed.
And so Ribbons of Steel was born, an 8-day arts festival incorporating 90 separate projects and bringing together close to 2,000 members of the community: artists, musicians, performers, writers, school children, organisers, support staff and employees. As the steelworks wound down, the festival tempo wound up.
We are both commemorating the 84 years of steel making, but Ribbons of Steel itself is a new model.
Ribbons of Steel, as we know, is commemorating the closure of the steelworks, but it is far more than a commemorative piece. It is instead a celebration of the tradition of the Newcastle steelworker, a proud tradition and spirit that has underpinned much of Australia's industrial development and indeed economic prosperity.
It set out to capture the emotion of the moment, by the people and for the people. It wanted artists to paint the plant, photographers to capture its images, singers to create its songlines, playwrights and storytellers to see into its soul. If you had something to say, something to offer, Ribbons of Steel wanted it.
The first group of arts workers, in fact, came onto the plant in July 1998. Not long after that, in fact, in August, school students started to come onto the plant. We had some photography students, drawing students, and then not long after that, the university students started to come onto the plant.
Steel workers surprised as the artists flocked to record their workplace, with paintings, etchings, engravings, liner cuts, lithographs, photographs, and even rubbings of steelworks equipment, and an installation based on steel workers' boots.
This was something new for our members because we're not used to painting industrial scenes. Our members mainly paint still lifes and flowers and landscapes and things like that. But we looked upon it as a challenge and we decided to get involved. And this is one of the paintings that was exhibited. And this is an oil painting inside the BOS. It's taken actually from a photograph, a copy of a photograph that was lent, among others, to our society for our members to paint pictures from.
We are truly in one of the most interesting galleries anywhere in the world. We are surrounded by art that tells a story of people and of events. It's a story of 84 years of steel making in Newcastle. A story of pride, achievement, and worker dignity. And it's a story that will continue to be told for generations.
The analogy was with the houses that lived in the shadow of the BHP, and we noticed that there was a lack of colour and that the colour that was there was somewhat faded, and so we decided that we would like to have a little piece, a little view of what it would be like post-BHP, as symbols of hope that we could inject some colour into the neighbourhood. And what we've done is we've taken images of dwellings around the BHP and we've digitised them, and we've really played with colour.
Major artworks included Birgitta Hansen's massive moving murals, 4 acrylic and oil canvases. The movable metal frames, 2.5 metres high and 2 metres wide, were built at the Steelworks Apprentice Training Centre. In the fab shop, Julie Squires collected steelworks icons, and with willing BHP metalworkers, assembled steel plate into the Muster Point, a house-sized sculpture built to evoke the steelworks skyline and contain lasting images of its triumphs and tragedies. It is estimated that more than half the employees were actively involved in Ribbons of Steel. They were singers, actors, guides, artists, photographers, builders, historians, researchers, writers, archivists. We enter the Ribbons of Steel precinct through a steel gateway designed by the Hunter Institute of Technology and partly built by employees and paved by workers more used to placing lining bricks inside steel ladles. 2 disused buildings were renovated for the festival by BHP workers. One was the tool room, built in 1941 to manufacture tools to make munitions. Each department wrote and illustrated its own history. Nearly every department put on a display.
It's impossible to overstate the importance and impact the Newcastle Steelworks has had on Newcastle and indeed the entire nation. The depth and diversity of the works featuring in Ribbons of Steel and the history and emotions that it evokes is truly inspiring. It's an extraordinary array of art forms incorporating the work of so many different people from different backgrounds, different skills. The intensity, the emotion in all of these works is very tangible. You can feel it as you walk around. The pride and the care and the thought that has been invested in all of the displays, all of the creations of art is very, very apparent.
Exhibitions varied from the didactic to the remembrance of things past, how steel is made, how things work, records, old tools, techniques worked out over the years.
Many people have been involved in putting together this particular display under the heading of refractory services, and what we have here is a representation of just different aspects of what we do. For example, I'm sitting on top of a coke oven wall setup using a fairly new design known as Myco wall. Just behind me we have a refractory gunning machine. Over here on my left we have a representation of the current steel ladle lining, the way it's set up with the different courses or layers in the ladle lining. Over behind me we also have some drawings and sketches depicting the use of refractories in the whole iron and steel making process.
I've got some liquid nitrogen to show the public what it looks like, because not many people know what it looks like. And I pour some out into a beaker and show them, and I tip some on the floor to show the fog. Also, I've got a piece of old machinery called a switching machine, which is no longer in use. It's been replaced by electronics. So that's something else that I've got to show. And also some books with photos in them showing the construction of the BHP Oxy plant.
BHP workers also had expertise in softer materials, the protective clothing, safety goods and tools made in the Industrial Safety Goods Department.
Our people had a lot of fun in putting that exhibition together. We had a plastic brain there that people could see right and left hand brain operations, and we all enjoyed it, and a lot of our partners and children enjoyed the experience of going there as well.
What we've endeavoured to do is show a combination of both the new technology in both departments, which is quite modern and up to the standard of anywhere else in the world, but as well as that, incorporate some of the older themes, I guess, and try and bring in some of the things that we've been used to in the past and remind us of some of our history, because there is a lot of history in both departments. I'm reasonably pleased, and the other guys are very pleased with the way it turned out, and they were certainly getting quite passionate towards the end about making it a really good display.
And the work of migrants was commemorated.
We've got some things in here that are just absolutely irreplaceable, and I suppose that's the bottom line about this entire exhibition here. It's just irreplaceable. It represents such a tiny fraction of the participation of migrant workers at BHP. At Greta Migrant Camp, they had over 100,000 people come through there, and a large percentage of those people worked at BHP.
Contributions by Aboriginal workers were remembered.
We wanted to pay respects to the elders of the community who had been involved with the Smiths general contractors, and that was Roy Smith, who's passed away, and Bob and Bill Smith, who they were brothers, and they set up the construction company and employed hundreds of Aboriginal people over the years that they were involved in rail and dispatch with BHP.
Anybody who wanted to participate, to make a tile, to push things into the surface, to draw, paint, basically do whatever they wanted. Some of them are very simple, handprints, footprints, that sort of boot prints, that sort of thing. Some of them are very complicated. The people who did them have gone to a lot of trouble and really thought about what they actually wanted to say. Some of them express contempt, some of them express a great deal of sorrow that something that they regard as a part of their lives is going.
120 disposable cameras were distributed to interested employees to capture for posterity the people, activities, machinery and workplaces of particular importance to them for the photographic collection in our time.
I wanted to try and capture the dying days of the steelworks, and what I'd like to do is come back when they start to pull it down and actually start to take some photos then and maybe put a book together.
Photography was part of the Moulton Arts Project, which allowed the steelworks unions, through the Workers' Cultural Action Committee, to contribute to the festival in many ways.
Because it's never not going to be not sad. It can't be a hugely happy event, but yeah, it can be positive.
Our brain cells are disappearing fast. Not that I admitted to start with, we didn't need them much at the works. They used to say to us, leave your brains at the gate. That's if you got any.
Oh, come on now, they never said that.
Newcastle playwright John O'Donoghue, author of another noted steelworks play, Essington Lewis, I Am Work, was commissioned to write for the closure. No More the Fur Elise, No More the Bulled Bloom is based on 3 generations of steelworkers. The strange title comes from the playing of Beethoven's Fur Elise to warn workers that a ladle of 220 tons of molten steel was rotating into casting position.
We had capacity for 120 people originally, but we went up to playing to 180, 220 I think was the biggest audience, with people standing, quite emotional responses. Some of the nicest audiences, I think from the project's point of view, were actually workers, because from the workers' point they felt that it was a very, not only moving, but it portrayed them very well and portrayed life here at the BHP.
Steel making's gone, the fire burns on. Men and women of steel made BHP.
The other Ribbons of Steel performance was far more a piece of community cultural development, bringing in skills into the community that did not exist, such as large-scale aerial spectacle work in terms of performance, and integrating with existing community-based groups to get their skills up so that those sorts of things could be produced in the future from the community.
September 30th in Newcastle steel making ends, BHP shuts down the furnace, the end of an era's scheme. Today, September 30th, Newcastle steel making shuts down. Others is calm and they do their job. Now steel's making some other town. I know
The large-scale, visually spectacular performance featured the cantata from a choir of 80, brass band, stilt walking, acrobatics, aerial performances, and plays presented on stages and in parades.
As the gates close, those left remain the people. Newcastle. and the fire burns on, and the fire burns on, and the fire burns on.
There are a number of elements of that performance. I think the cantata is a remarkable work of art that was composed by Philip Rutherford with a libretto that I wrote. I think someone said my grandfather was here in 1915 when the plant started, my father was here, I'm still here, you have done us proud.
Well, it's been quite enlightening to see the people you work with. You think that, steel workers, they can only pick up a hammer and bash things around. To see the actual hidden skills they've got, like to see the people singing in the choir, people with poetry talents, and even seeing some of the actors that are performing in the Ribbons of Steel. You know them from work as just someone who worked next to them. You actually see them there perform, and they're some quite talented people.
My colleagues out in the works and other people from around the community who've been involved in the choir have found it to be a very, very rewarding experience. My other experience as a performer, again, I think the last time I was a performer on stage was when I was at school. I think I was a tree. This time I come on stage and I play a real live person. That was a great challenge. I was nervous and I didn't want to do it at first.
We were feeling a bit low with the closure process and being virtually extracted from our way of life, and there wasn't much enthusiasm. It was like a breath of fresh air to get people from the outside to come in and help us with our closure process. We needed to get involved, put things together and do something physically and something positive, as Julie said, about the actual closure process and to show people what we were and what we'd done.
Heavy industry and brass bands go hand in hand, and the Newcastle Steelworks was no exception. Its early band toured overseas, and in 1925 was the first non-British band to win the Championship of Great Britain. It was the only band in history to combine winning the British and Empire Championships. Its successor is Waratah Brass.
Waratah Brass over the last 5 years has developed into an ensemble that is the top brass band in Australia, and this is not known very widely in this city. By the involvement we've had with Ribbons of Steel, this has enabled a lot of people in management and the general public to hear exactly what the band can do.
Raising their voices in song were members of the specially formed Men and Women of Steel Choir. There were also the Newcastle Conservatorium Chamber Choir, the Union's Newcastle People's Chorus,
we can bring to earth a new world from the ashes of the old, for the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever, solidarity forever, solidarity forever, for the union makes us strong, for the
and the Waratah Girls Choir.
For them to see this exhibition, for them to be part of such a historic event, it will stay with them, I guess, for the rest of their lives. I certainly hope so. And we've been very, very proud to be part of it.
Members of the public were provided with BHP luggage tags to write messages to employees. They were tied to the fence at the Ribbons of Steel site.
I am proud of you, Daddy. Love, Lizzie. This one needs to be sung. BHP is closing down, doo-dah, doo-dah. We're all going into town, all doo-dah day.
I won't miss the pollution of BHP. I hope you all find jobs and happiness. I hope this person is not in the audience tonight. BHP can keep my ex-husband.
Hunter writers published an anthology about the region's history. Pat Cranny collected hundreds of interviews for the book Tailing Out. The interviews were also used for short plays. BHP commissioned an official history, A Future More Prosperous by Christopher J.
I'm David Baker, and I'm from America. And my job is to get rid of this swamp. And this is one hell of a swamp to build a steel mill on. Pittsburgh was easy.
BHP forged special bonds with schools in Newcastle, particularly those close to the steelworks site.
1, 2, 3, suck. Spit. Suck. Spit. Suck. Who told you to swallow? Spit. Up. Not bad at all.
Children from more than 30 primary and high schools took part in Ribbons of Steel, providing musicians, actors, sculpture, paintings, photographs, drawings and ceramics.
The children, we always brought them over to the works. They did a tour first, and after they got over the initial how big, how huge, how old the place was, they were then able to interpret that. Plus the neighbouring schools did a lot of research on the actual history of the steelworks, and were able to incorporate that into a lot of their performances.
BHP Spare Parts Yard provided this bit of old machinery as an easel for 140 drawings and paintings. Primary schools made banners. Secondary school students toured the works and came up with 10 larger-than-life sculptures of work on the plant. The Newcastle Herald's cartoonist Peter Lewis, a regular lampooner of BHP activities in Newcastle, led workshops teaching youngsters about cartoon drawing. The children's views of the steelworks were incorporated in plays and mimes.
Children were actually interpreting the closure of the works.
It's 1925 and Newcastle buys its own collieries. The John Darling Collieries.
Ribbons of Steel set out to leave a legacy, and it succeeded.
We got to work with the actual working population of BHP, the workers at BHP, and they became main performers, telling their own stories. We actually managed over a period of time to convince a certain number of them to actually perform the 4 generations of steelworkers at BHP for the 84 years of steelmaking.
It was very, very rewarding, and I came away with a sense of achievement.
Not only was it a cathartic experience for steelworkers at a time of immense upheaval, but it added breadth and depth to the lives of those involved.
Oh, it's given me a bit of excitement, some interest in the closing down of the works, because you know you're going, you're dismissed. So this Ribbons of Steel, you have fun. You just do it. Just do what you have to in the performing arts, and you sing and it makes you happy. So the dismissal doesn't seem so bad.
It's been enjoyable actually. It's given us a bit of an aim in the last couple of months, last 6 months really.
Just all our good feeling.
Very satisfying indeed, yep.
It's been good that we have some form of celebration, if you like, of the closure of the steelworks after 84 years. It's good for the people at the steelworks, and I think it's also good for the Newcastle community because it represents a pretty big change in the state of things here in Newcastle. I think if we were all to go out the gate with barely a whimp or a whisper, people would feel fairly empty. So in my mind, the Ribbons of Steel setup has been a very good celebration.
I'm not so sure about the celebratory aspect of it. I think maybe more as a memorial to lost jobs, lost opportunities for the future. Although the performance of the Ribbons of Steel over in the repository was quite emotional for me, I thought it brought out some good points.
It's been a great thing and well worthwhile, and allowed a whole heap of people to express their feelings about BHP and the closure.
The last 2.5 years has been something where we've been able to reminisce and live with a lot of our memories and to work our way out of this industry and out of this plant with a lot of dignity. And that's been very, very good that management said it will be done with dignity, and I'm sure that that's one of the things that's happened here.
Ribbons of Steel stilt walkers performed in the opening ceremony of the Sydney 2000 Olympic Games. The Repercussion Percussion Group has grown from 12 to 45, and regular bookings include entertaining the soccer crowds at Newcastle's Marathon Stadium. It also has a spot in the 2002 Sydney Mardi Gras. The Steelworks Choir sang in Parliament House. Ribbons of Steel plays have enjoyed reruns in Newcastle. The static exhibitions are destined for permanent display in the city. The renovated Steelworks tool room will be preserved. For many displaced workers, new doors have opened.
I have memories. I remember the Ribbons of Steel. I remember what it felt like to be in a actual BHP type choir, which was unknown until then, and being in a performance, actually being on a stage with a couple of hundred people in front of you. So I'll bring away the memories of what I've been doing.
History does need to be recorded, that it is valuable, And exhibitions like this really do serve a very important place. You've got to know where you've come from. And that's what history is all about, recording that stuff. These seemingly inanimate, old, dusty, useless objects, which we take for granted, actually become incredibly important.
It's just been amazing, and I certainly hope and put it on record that this becomes a permanent museum, because there's just so much here. It's just incredible.
So I would like to say thank you to everybody who has been involved in what's been a very short period of time to bring off what is such a remarkably successful undertaking.
I think it was a good show. I was a bit apprehensive at first. I was looking towards a beer and a barbecue, but once it all came together and the effort that the artists have put in, the effort that the volunteers have put in, the people that work on the plan have put in, I think it's been pretty good, yeah.
But when it's all said and done, nothing of this could have come about if it weren't for the resolve and the determination of the workers of the steel mill, of the Newcastle Steelworks, to leave a lasting testimony to their involvement and those who preceded them. The end result is that when the steelworks sadly close in the next few weeks, nobody, not now nor in the future, will forget it and forget the people who inhabited it.
Ribbons of Steel put a full stop to a momentous chapter of Australian industrial history. As the celebration of the end of an era, its like will not happen again. The Newcastle Steelworks was sometimes bolshy, sometimes brilliant. It was never an easy place for outsiders to understand. It was a place that embraced the quintessential ambitions and values of 20th century Australia. And towards the end of that century, different values and aims were coming to dominate political and economic thinking. In its way, Ribbons of Steel is a symbol of those casualties of global change. It remains a monument in the memories of those who participated in it, in the artefacts it left behind, of enduring features of the Australian social landscape. Courage, inventiveness, humour, mateship, endurance, perseverance, creativity. It says, some things you can't shut down.
Newcastle!